Pasta. Who doesn't love pasta in any form, from the simplest of fettuccines and spaghettis into all kinds of shapes and sizes? It's endless and great fun to make. Today we're going to do a simple recipe for homemade pasta at home, and we're going to take it all the way through another episode about our stock. And we're going to show you how you can make pasta at home. Start off with 2.5 cups of AP flour. Nothing special here. So we're going to take our flour and we're going to put it in our handy dandy Cuisinart. So we're going to add 3 eggs, whole eggs. And I'm just going to put them in here like this. And now we're going to add just 1 yolk. To do that, we're just going to take out the whites, and I'm going to use those in something else. Don't waste. And you can also freeze your egg whites if you don't use them right now. You can put them in a little ice cube tray, and you can freeze them and save them for later. Okay, and so 1 more yolk. So we're going to take this around the block for a second. So I'm just going to pulse this. Now we want to put our hand in here and see, does this hold together? Yes, it does. So let me show you what this ends up looking like, because you're going to think it's going to like dough ball up. I don't want to push it to that stage because we're going to squish it. It almost looks like cornmeal, and that's exactly what we want it to look like. And bring this out, kind of go ahead and squish it a little bit in this bowl, because we want it to kind of come out together. Now remember, there's no salt in here, there's nothing. It's just eggs and AP flour. Push this down, and it's going to feel a little bit like Play-Doh. And we don't want it to be overworked. Remember, that's a real important part, because we're going to roll this out, and then we're going to use our KitchenAid to roll it really thin. We've rolled out with a floured rolling pin. So we have our KitchenAid. You can use the tilt heads, any of them. This will fit any of them that they have. And we have it plugged in, of course. No bowl, no attachment. Now this will go around, but it's not doing anything. And we're going to open up this, turn that little screw and open this. And of course, this little square cylinder fits right in here. And it's hard to do when it's backwards. There's a little notch right there that'll fit. Open that screw a little bit more until it goes in. And you want this to be fairly secure in here. So once it's secure, then take that screw and screw that back in so that it'll stay. We're going to start with just a little bit, and we want to make sure that however much we cut isn't wider than this. And you want to try, if you can, to keep it straight on the bottom, because sometimes if it has a little tail on it, it'll start pulling to one side. You will live through it, but, you know. So we're going to just take a little piece. Now you're thinking, wow, that's really a little piece. Yeah, it kind of is. And we have this set on, I have to get over here and see. All right, this is set on 1. So the higher the number, the thinner it's going to get. But we have to start somewhere so that we can get this. As you can see, that's about probably an 1/8 to 1/4 inch thick. So we're just going to put it right here, start with this side, and we're just going to feed it through. Okay, so that was on 1, and I put it to about 4 on here, and you can see it came out much thinner. Okay, I'm just going to cut these little tails off because it doesn't do you any good. And then I'm going to go to 2. Now it's widening out, so we may have to cut it a little bit. Okay, and now it's thinner. You can change this while it's running. I'm going to put it on 3. Thinner, thinner, it's starting to look like pasta. Go to 4. Starting to look like pasta. Now we're going to go to 5. I'll do it this way so you can see it. You don't want to see the back of my hand, do you? And just, it'll roll right over that edge and just kind of like this. Now you see why I cut it small? Because it's going to get longer and longer and longer. So I'm going to make linguine with this. So I want it to not be super thin, but I do want it to be at least 6 or 7 thin. So we're going to put it in here again. Now this is easy to handle. It's not sticking to itself because the dough is not too wet. We're going to put this guy in here again. And just kind of, if he gets off to one side, just kind of guide him over a little bit. Okay. Now, look at that. You can almost see my hand through it. And that's what I want it to look like. But we're going to change this out. So we make sure that this is off. Unscrew. And it comes right out. Remember, don't immerse those in water. Okay, so we're going to look at our little notch here. We're going to make sure that this is all the way out. Do you like that? And you kind of have to feel your way through it. Now you want to make sure that you have your little screw in there. So we have this in here and it's secure. What we want to do is, it's not going to add any length to this. It's just going to cut it. I'm going to give my baking pan a little bit of flour, and I'm going to keep that there because as this comes out, I want to be able to put this on this flour, and once we've done that, then we're going to rehang it. And this is the exact same process, except it's already as thin as it needs to be, so we don't have any knob on the outside. We want to put it up at about 3 to 4, and we're just going to start to feed it through. Now, if you start straight down, don't let it come over the side. And look at that. You, my friends, have got fresh fettuccine. Okay, so we're going to separate it a little bit and just kind of drop it into this flour. How easy is this? How fun is this, right? Don't let them, I kind of separate those strands out. And I'm just going to give it a tiny bit of dusting of flour because we want it to not stick when we put it into the stock that we're going to cook it in. You don't want to have a lot of little stringy pastas laying around. So see how this guy is like all trailed off? He's not going to be great. We're just going to cut this here so that we have a nice straight edge. We're going to do the other side as well. Nice straight edge. Nice straight edge, she says. Okay, and then when we go through, we'll just take this guy over here. Can you roll that up and do it again? I wouldn't. You could always just make some little yummy scraps for lunch, right? And then when our edges are straight, it makes a whole lot better feed. So we've run all of that through our KitchenAid, and we have all of this beautiful pasta that's just kind of hanging out over here. You can dry this to complete dry stage and then store it if you'd like. However, I'm just going to let it dry for maybe 20 or 30 minutes. But I wanted to show you, I'm just going to use a couple of the little pieces that we took out that we didn't run through there. And I'm going to show you how you could do it by hand. Now, this is just a little, looks like little pizza cutters. And that's basically what it is. But it's specifically for making a cut that'll give you linguine. So you see that this will work. I didn't press quite hard enough. Should have done it on a cutting board. But it will do it if you want to do it by hand. You can roll this out by hand and you can cut it by hand. Or if you want, you can use a big pizza cutter, but these are really pretty handy unless you're making big pieces. So I just wanted to show you that. So we're going to clean up our area, and then we're going to talk about cooking this and how to cook it, and cook it in what? Right now we're going to get our stock together. We have a 6.5 quart stock pot with a pasta drainer. If you don't have this, remember you can just pour it out into a strainer. And we have a little bit of chicken stock that we're going to use. We could use this turkey stock. Turkey, they really get a bum rap. Turkey is a delicious meat, and the stock on it is definitely yummy. It's a different kind of flavor. I wouldn't Thanksgiving it up. I wouldn't put in a lot of poultry seasoning and sage and all that bunch of such. Just let it live. But today we are going to go with the chicken stock, which is pretty traditional. So we're going to take this out. I've got about 2 quarts of water in here, and I'm going to take that out. So as you can see, let me see if I can do it without spilling it. We've got the chicken stock, and you can see the little tiny bits of the chicken fat on top. It's not a lot, it's just a little. And I'm going to stir this up. Now, pasta requires a lot of liquid. So before I decide that this is enough, this has to go in here and submerge to at least here the pasta that we're going to cook. And it should be boiling when we put it in there. This has no salt in it or anything else other than that chicken stock. So I'm going to take this time to add a tiny bit of freshly ground pepper, maybe. I'm having a thing today. What's happening here? So a little bit of freshly ground pepper, because remember, this is the only chance you really have to season the pasta itself. These seasonings are entirely up to you. You don't have to use pepper. You don't have to use red pepper flakes. You don't have to use any of those things. But it certainly helps. I'm going to use 1 heavy pinch of water. I can hear my water boiling over there, and I'm thinking water. Of the salt, and give that a quick stir. And I'm going to add a little bit more water to this. I could add a little bit more stock, but this is what we have available today. We don't have any frozen cubes or anything at the studio today. So I'm going to add a little bit more water, and then we're going to put this in here, and we're going to add our pasta. We're going to put this on, let this come to a boil, and then throw our pasta in, and we want to pull it before it becomes mushy. You want to be able to pinch it, but it should give. Okay, we'll be back in just a moment. Now we have our pasta in this is absolutely one of my favorite sets of cookware, is the Viking cookware. And I know there's a ton of them out there, and I have Calphalon too. I mean, don't get crazy, but I absolutely love these stainless Vikings. This actually has the strainer, that's already built in. Man, is that handy. So we're going to lift that up out of there. We don't want it to get too mushy. So we're going to take this out. Let me move this off. Just took it off the stove, so it's still warm. We're going to take this out, drain it off. Lots of water. Actually, remember, this is the stock. So I'm just going to let this guy sit here for a minute. That pasta is so delicious we could eat it right now by itself.